Hey, y'all. Good morning. It is Friday, May 20th, and I'm coming to you live from my living room. As per usual, we are hanging out here, and I just wanted to chat with you guys a little bit about liberation, what it means to me, how I have achieved it. Yes, this is me messing with my lighting in real time. Because we do things a little bit differently here. This is very relaxed. I am not trying to, what in the world is that? I am not trying to do a posture or pose or whatever. This is just real life. This is driving me crazy. My hair has been very interesting with the change of the weather. So it is like I moisturize it and then it ends up like super dry anyway. I'm thinking about cutting it off, but it is what it is. We're going to talk about liberation today. I'm going to talk about how I made my therapist cry the other day. Didn't mean to, it was kind of accidental, but it's very important, I think, to just talk about why in the world. Okay, so y'all can, like, if you guys are watching this live, for some reason my restream is being stupid and is not updating stuff, so I have to work on my tech stuff as part of empire building that I'm not enjoying, but it is what it is. So yeah, let's just get into it really quick. Basically, the life that I have right now and the life that I had not even a year ago, completely different. The journey to liberation has been a long one. Like, I'm not going to pretend like it's been a walk in the park or a cakewalk, super easy, anything like that. The fact of the matter is that in order to get to a liberated spot, in order to have freedom, in order to experience the life that you want to experience, you have to make changes for yourself. Okay. Now, here's the thing. We need to define what liberation looks like for us. Using the work that I have done, I have found and discovered and uncovered what liberation looks like for me. And of course, my thing is not on Do Not Disturb. I apologize for the lack of something. Hold on. And now I got spinning wheel. Liberation for me has meant that I am able to make choices to further my goals for myself and my family. Liberation has meant that my time belongs to me. Liberation has meant that my self is the primary being in my world. Okay. Now, that looks a lot like selfishness to a lot of people. But the thing is that if you are unliberated and you are attached to so many different outcomes, if you're attached to so many different places and ways of being and things that are coming from outside of you, you are unable to sit in a space to clearly focus on what it is that you're attempting to bring in, what it is that you're attempting to create for yourself. There's too much noise, too much static. Okay. So liberation for me has meant a clarity, a clarification, a refocusing on what it is that I am attempting to do in this world. And that refocusing on myself clears out space so that I can accomplish those goals and additionally create what needs to be created for the people who are in my life. Okay, so that includes my husband, it includes my partners, it includes my children, it includes my friends and my family. But I can't do any of those things unless I am truly liberated. The liberation has created space for me. Now, this of course is like a very high level discussion of liberation in terms of personal freedoms, in terms of how we move through the world individually. This is not a discussion about systemic issues, systemic racism, systemic, white supremacy, and all of those things that have oppressed and kept people where they are for a very long time. That does come into play here, but when you have the presence of mind, the spiritual focus, the ability to see possibilities beyond what other people have placed on you, then moving through those kinds of energies is just, it's a completely different game plan. It's a completely different situation. It's a completely different world. Now, that doesn't mean that those things won't still show up for you. It doesn't mean that those things won't still impact you. But it does mean that you can move from a space where you acknowledge what is going on in the world and you understand ways to move through and around that because of the potential of other possibilities. Now, it does not, exclude, impact versus intention and all that other kind of stuff, but it is a thing to keep in mind. Okay. Now, for me, my liberation story starts, I would say a good, how many years ago now? Like 5 years ago. I used to work for a church. I was running my wedding planning business and working for a church. I was their communications person, basically in charge of all of the interchurch communications. And it was a very great job. I loved it, but it was leading to overwhelm, not necessarily because of the work itself, but because of the environment and the expectations, the fact that I could not be 100% myself, the fact that I was still putting together the idea of who and what I was after the passing of my mom. And while I was there, my sister passed away as well. And those two losses left me completely adrift and had me really struggling to see what was necessary in terms of where I was going with my life. Okay. It started to feel like time was running out. It started to feel like things were not getting to the point where I could really create what I needed to create for myself. Everything just felt heavy. Everything felt stuck. Everything felt impossible. And so I had to take a leave of absence from that job so that I could get my mind right. Ended up getting really intensely into therapy, looking much more deeply into my spiritual healing, because the tools that I had weren't working anymore. And that's when I dove into a new process of self-discovery. I had been floating along using the same stuff for a very long time, but you get to a point sometimes where all of a sudden the things that you're used to just aren't having the same impact. They're not having the same depth. They're not having the same positive impact that you really were looking for. So what I ended up doing, I started doing a lot of therapy, really diving into using my cards on a regular basis. And the information that I was getting was very clear. The information that I was getting was that it was time. I was stuck in a hangman position. I was stuck right before that huge transformation, and something needed to shift, something needed to move. I went into that understanding that I had more information, more value to give to the world, that I had a mission that I was on. And that was the beginning of my first dark night of the soul, because I had to challenge myself to accept that that was what was there for me. Some of you may be experiencing the same thing, this whole idea that you've been given a mission, you've been given a goal, you've been given a job to do, but you can't see how to connect where you are to that thing that you're trying to do. You don't see what energy needs to be created there for you. And that is normal. It happens to all of us. And that's really important to remember, that we all have those moments where we are sitting and trying to figure out, okay, how do I figure this out? How do I get to the next space? what I started to realize was that what I needed was an opportunity to experience and express my true self. And to me, liberation is the ability to experience and express your true self in all parts of your life. Now we're gonna go through really quickly how to connect that to the usage of tarology, and also the story about how I made my therapist cry. So fast forward to just last year. Okay, this is after I've had my DNA activated, after I had worked very intensely with several healers, gotten lots of readings, definitely, working towards all of these goals for myself. And what I'm realizing is that I had a work within me. Don't mind me, I'm getting more comfortable. I had a work within me. I had a thing that needed to be birthed into the world. Now, this was not a pleasant experience, the birthing into the world. It was, in fact, very frustrating for me because I'm like, I don't know how to do this. Like, I just don't know. Is that true? No, none of that was true. Of course I know how to do this. This is not like new for me. This is the same stuff that I've been doing. It's just that I was now being challenged to do it in front of people. Okay. And that was not easy for me to accept. But the shedding that happened, the shedding that has allowed me to recognize that the way that I see the world doesn't have to be the way other people see the world, that I am allowed to exist in the fullness of myself. Like, I just turned 40 last year. I'm going to be 41 next month. And the idea that I was living with regrets, the idea that I was living with somebody else's expectations over my head, and I didn't even realize they were there, was such a challenge. So what I ended up doing was putting together a workbook based on the major arcana and really working through each of the energies of the cards, figuring out what it is that they challenge you to do, what it is that they ask you to do, and what the next steps are in working with that energy. Because every tarot card in the major arcana has a so that relationship. So as you are experiencing those energies, they flow very seamlessly into the next. I'll give you a quick example. When you start off with the Fool, it's that brand new, fresh, I just got here, everything's amazing, wow, this is incredible energy. Like brand new babies, brand new on the earth, no information, just floating along, doing what they can, right? The Magician comes right after that. The Fool is empty so that the Magician can do the discovering of what is available, okay? The Magician has done the discovering of what is available in the physical realm, the tools that are at hand, so that the High Priestess can open up into the powers of the intuition, okay? The High Priestess then uses that power of the intuition so that the Emperor can figure out what needs to be organized and managed. And they also work in reverse as well. So the Emperor has the control over there of the beautiful, management of all of those things, so that the High Priestess can pour in with that intuition. So it's that combination, that juxtaposition. With the organization and the intuition, you have the discovery of the tools, and all those three things together, again, you have the freedom to be free, right? So all of those things work back and forth. It goes all the way up to all the way through the world and all the way back. It is a spiral that keeps going. Okay. And in that cycle, that is where we find our liberation, because we have those questions, those journeys, those challenges that are given to us through these cards. Okay. And the way that I have used these is in various different kinds of daily rituals that I use for myself, by understanding those energies, the depth of those energies, and how we contain all of them and how we can embody them. So while I was in that temperance place, while I was in that, not temperance, in the hanged man place, I knew that I needed to get to the deeper healing. So I had to let certain things about myself die. I had to let the death card energy come through. Does it hurt? Absolutely. Is everybody terrified of it rather? Usually, yeah, they are. Because in Western society, especially, death does not have a positive connotation. However, it is something that every single one of us goes through, every single one of us experiences. It is one of the constants. It's around us completely all the time. And our rejection of it keeps us stuck, because the only way new things can grow is through death. Okay, so we move through that death energy. We experience that death energy. Does it hurt? Yeah. Is it ridiculous sometimes? Yeah. Does it leave us sobbing on our knees? Absolutely. But as we move through it, we get to that next place where we are sitting in that energy of temperance and that healing energy, that moderation energy, that balancing energy. And that energy comes and then goes ahead, and as that dissipates, as we've gotten our bearings back, we run straight into the devil energy, where we have to face everything. We have to face all of that stuff. We have to face everything that we were, so that we don't pick it up again. Okay. And if we are even thinking about picking it up again, once we faced it, the tower comes along and just like throws it all. It's like, no, you can't have that. You're done with that. You can't have that anymore. So it takes it away from us for our own good. And a lot of people get stuck in that cycle between the hanged man and the tower, and they repeat and repeat and repeat, because it is easy to start picking things back up from the pile. Okay. Now, the reason that I made my therapist cry at my last session is because life has been a challenge and a half. Now, did I do this to myself? Absolutely. Would I have it any other way? Well, I might, but I demonstrated to her by explaining that I'm super conscious of what is happening for me. I am super conscious that I have to display my own boundaries, that I have to set my own limits on what I can and can't do, put the lines down, set them, and enforce them for all things that happen in my life, whether I am dealing with family situations, whether I'm dealing with my kids, whether I'm dealing with my business. I have to be devoted and I have to be dedicated to creating the life that I would like to have. And that is what liberation is. Liberation is dedication to creating the life that you want to have. That gives you the freedom. And it does not come without boundaries. And it does not come without challenges. It does not come without self-awareness. It does not come without ownership of where you are and your responsibility for some of the things that have gotten you to where you are. I know exactly why I am living in the house that I'm living in right now. We decided to sell our other house and now we are renting. Is this where I want to be long-term? Absolutely not. Is that why I am challenging myself to make sure that it does not end up like this? Like we don't get stuck here for the next 5 years? Absolutely. Do I believe I have control over that? Absolutely. I refuse to accept that I cannot affect positively the outcome that I'm looking for. I refuse to accept it. That's why I teach magic. That's why I do magic, because force of will combined with practical action gets you results. Can't have just one or the other. That's why the law of attraction doesn't work by itself. You can't just wish and hope and have magic happen. You have to do the inspired actions. You have to actually take those steps. That is what I teach in both the Tarology Academy and in my workshop that I'm hosting next, not next week, on the 31st of May. Okay. That is the basis of all of the work that I do with my temperance tarot sessions. It is all about getting you clear. It is all about getting your priorities straight, your boundaries straight, showing you the magic that you have within, and all of that beautiful stuff. Okay. Now, more about how I made my therapist cry. So we had a situation where I had to step into a role in the family that I was not prepared to step into. I've always been the baby of the family. And so being the baby oftentimes means not needing to take responsibility, not needing to handle things the way that you necessarily want to, right? And I enjoyed that because me being, a little Sagittarius rising, Gemini sun, a little bit carefree, a little bit spontaneous. There is a desire that I have, a core desire of freedom. But it's really easy to forget that sometimes you need to be responsible, especially when responsibility isn't something that you've chosen. Okay. So in my family, I have come to a point now where I have to be caretaker for someone that I was not expecting to have to be caretaker for. And it has not been easy being thrust into that, but I am aware of what my true responsibilities are. I am aware of the boundaries that I need to set in order to keep myself stable so that I don't end up on a roller coaster dealing with that situation. And I expressed that to my therapist and let her know that because I am so strong within what I know for myself, because I am so strong within the work that I do for myself, the focus, the spiritual work, the readings, the meditations, the spell work, my actual physical boundaries, taking a bath when I need to ground, getting outside when I need the air, taking a nap when I need to rest, and not feeling guilty about any of that stuff. I don't feel guilty about that shit at all anymore. Okay. I was able to step up and handle something that part of me was like, no, you're just going to say no. You're just going to say no. You're not going to do it. And I was like, but is that the right thing to do? And so I did the right thing. Was it easy? No, but I did it in a way that allowed for me to still be myself and still have my boundaries and still help in the best way that I could. And that's progress. That's beautiful progress. And that is my wish for all of you, is to be able to face your responsibilities, to face the things you have to deal with your families, face the things that you have to deal with your businesses, with your relationships, understanding exactly what it is that is best for you and how to protect yourself and your goals first and foremost. Okay. If you are interested in joining me for any of these sacred containers, I definitely would love to have you. I'm going to ask you guys to get on my welcome list, my email list, as soon as you can. There's two ways you can do that. You can either jump to my website and you can get the download of my tarot manifestation guide, or you can take the tarot transformation quiz, and that quiz will actually add you to my list, and you'll get your information about how you can create with the tarot, where you are right now in your journey along that mystical path that is the major arcana, and how that helps you to create and how you can move forward in your journey. You guys can always find me here on Facebook or on YouTube. You can also find me on Instagram at exojazzsandflown. Same thing on TikTok at exojazzsandflown. For more wonderful tarot tips and learning how to use the tarot to create in your everyday life. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. And that is all I've got for you this morning. Thank you very much and have a wonderful Friday. Bye.